What's up, my loves and fellow creatives? How are y'all doing tonight? Hey, Erica. Hello, hello, Sheikah B. I'm sure we'll have a few more trickling in. I am going to go ahead and start with this template. This was actually the most requested to do, so I think it's a great inspirational image, great idea to start with, and I'm going to pull in one of our volunteered photos. So whoever's photo that I use as the volunteer photo or the model for the template will get a free version of this template. So you can either get the all over version or the 13 by 19 version. And what I'm going to do at the end of every video, if y'all can remind me, I'll turn all of my all overs into 13 by 19s right before your eyes so that you will know how to turn it into a 13 by 19 if you purchase the all over template. Well, all right, so let's get on into this. Just wanted to give you an idea of how I start off a project. So typically when you have a project, the thing that you're going to want to change out first is the photo. So the way that I do that is I right click and I find the name of the photo. In this case, the name of the photo is photo. And I make sure that I select this layer before I bring in my other layer. So let me open my folder and see what image I want to bring in. And I believe I already cut out some of your photos as PNGs, so this should be already ready to go. I have all of these beautiful pictures. All right, so the photo that I chose for this one is not a coincidence. As a matter of fact, let me see if I double click on this one. He is wearing white, black, and gold as well. So let me go ahead and drop this image in and surprise somebody here tonight. Because I never pick them because they're my right hand. And every now and then I have to give my right hand a couple of perks too, because she is definitely my ride or die. Make sure she takes care of all y'all's concerns and or complaints and stuff, especially when I'm so hard to get a hold of. So this is Erica. Y'all know Erica Kane in the group. That's who you message. She's on here as new Blinker Slinging. So she has a group also where she teaches you how to do rhinestone shirts. So this is her beloved grandfather, no, father, right? You can let me know. I think is it grandpa? So I'm glad you're surprised and you love Nipsey. So I figured it was only fitting. So I wanted to surprise you with that one. Yep, it's grandpa. Aww. So what we're gonna do, now when I did remove BG, I want y'all to notice something. When I did remove BG, there was some other image, like I guess someone else had a hat on in the background and it grabbed that hat too. So we're gonna clean that up. I'm just gonna go ahead and double click on it so that it opens it up. It's a smart object. Whenever we pull it in like that, it's gonna open up in its own window here. And I'm just gonna zoom in. I'm gonna clean that up with my pen tool. If it allows me to scoot it over, what is going on? Am I pushing a button somewhere? Control 0. There we go. All right, so let's grab this pen tool. Where might it be? There we go. Pen tool is one of those scary tools until you get used to it. So I'm going to clean up what Remove BG did not erase. And this isn't something that you'll always have to do. I will say about 80% of the time, Remove BG does all of the heavy lifting for me, and all I have to do is pop that bad boy in. But in this case, it didn't do that quite that. So we're going to do our own manual process. Now, oh, it's coming up here. I forget that I have two screens, so sometimes my Photoshop windows pop up on another screen. But you'll know as soon as you hear that bloom, 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 and it keeps getting more aggravating, it means that something's stopping you from being able to proceed to the next step. So for the feather and the radius, I'm going to ask it to do 1 pixel because I don't want it to be a hard line. I want it to be kind of a smooth, faded off edge, a little feathered edge. And it looks like it did just that. And it has like a little bit of extra black on the side of his face here. I'll do the same thing there. And just kind of clean that up a little bit. And then when I close out of here, it's going to ask me, do I want to save? I'm going to say, yes, I want to save. And I should have gotten rid of this little piece around his hat there. So let's go ahead and clean that up too. Why not, since I'm showing off with this pen tool. So zoom in. I did Control plus. And let me go ahead, let me turn on my tracker for you. All right, so again, we got the pen tool. And I'm going to click and drag. I'm making curves. So when I come to the outside, I'm just clicking because I don't care that they're corners. I want curves where I need the curves to be seen. So let's go ahead and do our selection again. And I'm deleting. And you know me, normally I don't delete pixels. Most of the time I'm using a layer mask. But when we already have a remove BG image that has no pixels on the outside, then it doesn't matter when I delete those pixels. So yes, we're going to save that. And now we have a nice clean image. All right, and because I have 1 photo and not 2, the reason why I chose this image with Nipsey 2 is because I wanted to show that you could literally do this as a prom design. You know, a lot of times the prom designs, the guys will be doing their little squat poses and stuff, and you can put them on the stairs on their squat pose. But in this case, we're actually going to take that image off by just hitting the eyeball there. And then I'm going to make Granddad's picture bigger because now we have a little more real estate here. So I'm going to do Control 0 just to zoom out. And we're going to make it bigger. And this still has that, you know, that stairway to heaven representation, but I get more of my image there. And of course, I'm going to fade off the bottom here because I don't like the hard edges. Even though the clouds kind of cover it up, I can still see those hard edges there. So let's create a layer mask down here at the bottom of the layers panel. You see it's white, so white's going to reveal and black conceals. So I'm going to grab my paintbrush here, make sure that I have a soft round brush selected, and my pixel size, I'm going to go for 500. And it actually looks like I can do bigger than that. So let me go for 900. And I'm just hovering over my board so I can see about what size that brush is. And it's a nice big brush. And what I'm going to do is paint black. And right now I can't see my black because I have my screen kind of magnified for you all. So let me bring this up a little bit. And then you'll see that I have my black and white swatches down here. So right now I'm painting with white, so nothing is going to conceal because I'm painting with white. It's already 100% revealed. So I'm going to flip it right here with my reverse icon, and now black is in the forefront. That means black is loaded up onto my brush. And I'm just sweeping around the image and cutting off that harsh edge. That's it. Don't get me, Erica. All right, so what do you want to put on this one? I want to show you all how to change text. So right now it says long live. So I can duplicate that. Let's say you want to say another form of text. What do you want to put? We can put in love and memory, always in my heart, anything that you can think of. We can change the text to. And I'll give you a little moment because I know there's some delay in the video too. All right, and while I let you think about that one, what we're going to change the text to, I think we'll probably keep these colors because he looks so dapper in the ivory and black, and I think it really goes with this gold theme. But I didn't want to limit you to this color scheme when you purchase this template. So there are some ways, and let me go ahead and turn my guides on here too, so you can see where you don't need to go outside of, especially when you're doing text and images. Try to keep everything within this dotted line area. And then you can be assured that whether you print on a small or 3X, you're not going to cut anything important off. Always in our heart. Gotcha. Let's do it. So for the top part, I'm going to click on the long live. And I like to use my right click, and I'll tell you why. When you right click on something, Photoshop will tell you everything that you're touching in that area when you right click. So I can clearly see that my text there is long live. I'm going to double click on that, and I will change it to, I'm going to put always, and then I'm going to double click on the other text. Always in our hearts. Now you can do it that way, or we can do always in our hearts on one line, and if you wanted to put his text, you can. So yep, I figured you want to put his name on there. Mr. Walter White Sr. So I'm going to take the always, and I'm going to Alt. When I do Alt and I click and drag, you see how it turned into a black and white arrow? That means it was making a copy of it. And then that way I can double click. I'm going to paste the name because I love to copy and paste names, especially when it's something so important to people. When you're doing memorial stuff, make sure that you pay attention to the details, the dates, the spellings of the names, etc. So I usually copy and paste it, and I've even caught like some really bad errors in dates and things like that. And sometimes the people that are sending you this stuff, you know, they're in high pressure instances, or you know, they might be a little more distraught and they're not paying attention to the details. So I've even gone as far as to Google that person's obituary, because it's usually posted in their local newspapers or online, and I'll make sure that the dates are right. And I've caught quite a few instances where they weren't correct, and the family's like, "Oh, thank goodness you caught that, because we were just looking at the design and we didn't even pay attention to the dates." So just be aware of that type of stuff. Those are things that when you do these type of designs, you give a little extra love, and the family will definitely appreciate it. Okay, so we can do the name like this, or we can do the name in the, and I did Control T so I can resize it here. Make it a little taller. But I don't want it to go outside of my dotted lines because I don't want to take the chance that it will get cut off. Now here's the other option. I can take in our hearts. You can duplicate that layer. And yeah, I think I like that better. Let's see, let's do Control T. We want to make sure that we get it inside of this area here. And if you ever want to squish text and it's stuck on the aspect ratio, you can squish it by holding down Shift, and then that way you can resize it disproportionately. I think I'll do it like this, and let's do always in our hearts. And you could even break it on up. You can do always in our hearts. This is what I do all day when it comes to design. And this is why it's helpful to have a template, because sometimes the typography is what you really want to play with and focus on, because you want it to stand out, You want people to see the message, and you want people to feel the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first, I'm going to put always in cursive at the top and see how that looks. So I'll turn off this one. And then I'm going to hold down Alt, and then I'm going to see how it's a double arrow, black and white arrow, and I click and drag it, and I just copied it without having to redo a whole bunch of stuff. So then it's so easy to figure out how you want. Oh, wait, sorry, I can't do two things at once. I was trying to spell and talk at the same time. Didn't I have a little always there? And I think I like always in front of in our hearts. Y'all let me know. All right, so that would be it. So we have a couple of different options there. Erica, you can let me know if you thought something looked better one way or another, but that is it. And we could even take like in hour and make it smaller and make the word hearts bigger. So there's so many different ways that you can play with this, but I think as we have it right now, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna bring this up so I can bring up in our hearts just a little bit more. I like my text to overlap. That's just me. Sometimes it does make it a little less legible, but I'm just a complicated creature, and I tend to do it big. Everything extra. All right. All right, so now in this template, the new template we'll have, I'm gonna rewrite this as always in our hearts. And then this one will say long live. And then we'll have both of those options in there. And I gotta move that always now because that's kind of bothering me. All right. All right, so that's basically less than 10 minutes. Honestly, if you already knew what you wanted to say, you could bring in your photo, fade off the bottom edge. You have a couple of clouds here if you want to put the clouds or move them around. So I'm going to call this cloud 2. So in your template, that's going to be called cloud 2, and then this one will be called cloud 1. And these are just kind of to break up the bottom of the image. Of course, if you aren't doing a remembrance image, you might want to take the clouds off. If you're doing, like this will be perfect for, like I said, a prom photo, graduation. I want you to think outside the box when it comes to how you use these templates, because I do want you to get as much use as possible out of these things. And then what I'm going to do is add maybe a little bit to the bottom of the staircase to make it look like the clouds are kind of right over the staircase there. There we go. And that just kind of breaks that up a little bit. But if you want to remove them, all you do is take off the eyeball there. Okay. All right, so before I turn it into the 13 by 19, then I want to go ahead and show you all how to manipulate the colors and stuff here. So we have our photo in, we have all our other elements, and just for the sake of seeing the colors, I'm going to turn off these extra clouds for now. But they will be there for you in the template. And I think this folder is empty. Let me get rid of it. All right, so the idea here, I'm going to open up the background layer because the background is where most of the action is. You have a sky layer here right in the middle. I want to show you that it has a black and white Well, it has a hue saturation on there right now. So if I double click on the hue saturation, if you notice over here, my properties, my saturation is brought all the way down to 0, which means it grays every color out, so no color saturated. You also have the ability to move the saturation up. I never bring it all the way to 100 because it looks so grainy when you do that. But you also have the option to move the hue. So you can make that any color. And of course you can do the traditional blue, but maybe you want to do teal or really lime green or something else that you're matching. You just have that option to play with the hue here. Now let's say there's a color that you're trying to get and maybe it's like a rose gold color. Now a rose gold color is still a pinkish red, but you have to bring down the saturation to make it not so vibrant of a color, and then you may have to play with the lightness. So see how I can pretty much achieve any color I want just by manipulating the hue, the saturation, and the lightness here, okay? And if you look at this little bottom bar down here, it's kind of giving you the degree to which you're going to be able to change these colors. So now I'm getting my pastels. I can get my really deep colors when I go closer to the blacks on the lightness, and then I can get really intense. But like I said, you get too intense over here. See how what it does? It looks crazy. So don't bring it too far into saturation. And then I can change and get darker colors as well. And that's just one simple little setting here. I also encourage you to use things like hue. This is the hue saturation, but you can also do a color overlay and change these colors as well. But I think this is the simplest way to do it. It's already kind of monochromatic, so you're getting your best bet here doing it in this way. And I just did a colorize so we can just make sure it's all one single color. You see that? You can achieve any color you want by playing with these settings here. All right, so for the purpose, let's go ahead and do an example that might be more colorful. I'm kind of liking that kind of turquoise there. Let me know what y'all think. A little turquoise. We can bring the saturation out a little bit to make it stand out. And then I'm going to also put an option on top of the black and white marble. Let's do, or maybe even on top of everything here. Let's do a layer, new adjustment layer, or I'm sorry, a new fill layer. And I'm going to do a solid color. Then that will pop up asking you what you want to name it. Say okay. Now let's just pick one of those teals there. Like it changed it for a second. 3ECAD 5. 3ECAD 5. Okay. So I'm going to bring this above the entire folder so it takes over the entire background. And then I want you to learn how to play with your blend modes here. So I usually will choose the first one, which is darken, and then I will use my mouse key to kind of go down the list just to see what it does. And probably my most used blend mode when I'm trying to change colors is probably either going to be color or hue, if it does what I want it to do. So there you go. That one is hue. And hue is going to keep your black and whites, right? Color is going to color everything pretty much with an overlay of the color. So it's going to tint everything. So I want you to see the difference between color and hue, because that's a big, they do very, very similar things, except for where the black and whites are. The hue likes to keep the black and whites exactly black and white. and then the color likes to kind of over color everything. So that's color, that's hue if we wanted to keep the black and white in there. But it's just to give you an option and an opportunity to play with color. All right, so I'm going to keep that color. I'm going to show you one more thing you can do. You can also do a gradient the same exact way. So let's go and let's do a layer, a new fill layer, and I'm going to do a gradient. And I'm going to keep these in here for y'all because just because I'm, and I didn't mean to clip that. Let me do that again. So layer, new fill layer, do the gradient. And I don't want to crop it to the previous layer. I'm just going to let it cover the whole background right now. Now I'm going to double click. Of course, this was hanging off the screen here. So I'm going to click on the gradient here. Now let's choose a different colorway. Let's try that one. And we have some pretty interesting colorways here. And right now it's a little hard to see because the clouds are teal and it's kind of breaking up some of my colorways. But I just want to give you some ideas of how you can use this. All right, so let's go with that kind of rainbow colorway. We'll turn off the teal. I'm going to turn off the hue saturation or just the saturation. I'm bringing the saturation all the way down right now. And this should be making these clouds pretty much gray. All right, so let's play with what this does. I think we decided on hue or color there. I'll turn off the sky just so you see what it's doing all underneath that. As a matter of fact, I can bring the sky into this background group. Oh, I know why I can't bring the sky into there. Because I have a layer mask up here. There we go. So I'll just bring the sky right before the layer mask. That works. Let me pull this out a little bit. All right, so this grayscale is clipping to the sky. We still have the sky in there. We want to take the sky out. We have that option. But if we're going to bring the sky in there, then I need to change the gradient here. And bring that up just a bit. And what I'm doing is I am affecting the gradient layer for the background here. There we go. All right, so I'm happy with that. So all you'll be doing is playing with maybe some of these adjustment layers, but in actuality, you won't have to do too much of anything. Let's say if you don't want the gradient layer to affect the chains there, then you can take that gradient layer and you can pull it just above the marble. And then you can turn it off here. And then it will just affect the marble at the bottom. So there's so many ways you can play with this depending on, you know, how you really want to affect the colors here. I think this one, it does really cool with the color. And I'll bring that color back for you. Let's see, we did full saturation all the way down. Let's take it off. Let's see what it looks like with the blue color there. And take the color off the bottom. So even if you just wanted to add a little bit of color in just the sky right there, you have that option too. So either way, you know how to change your text, you know how to manipulate some colors, which you probably just assume, you know, when you use this template that you're going to use it in black and white. But I like to assume that you may want to play with color. And in this case, let's say you could even hide this layer. You can 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 And I'm going to duplicate this layer. Let's disable the layer mask for a second there. I'm going to duplicate this background. And then I will Control T. I'm going to flip it vertical. My goal is kind of trying to make that look continuous. But as you can see, you don't have to use the chains at all. You can use just the marble background. We can change around this gradient. It does not have to be linear. You can do, I like to do angle. And then angle kind of makes it travel around the design. You can even change the angle. We can switch up the entire gradient here and play with some different colors. And these are all gradients that I made. So play around with making your own gradients and seeing how it kind of works with your design. And I promise you this is as much fun as it looks, like just really exploring colors, themes. Let's say you're doing a, excuse me, a red, white, and blue. And remember I told you that we had selected color here, but if you select hue instead, see what it does? It's only going to color the parts that are not black and white. So you have quite a few options there. I'm going to take it back to one of my, because whenever you get this template, you'll get the whatever gradient I put on here, you'll get that too. I just have so much fun with colors. And this is one that I want you to be able to play with and think outside of the normal black and white colors. Like if you want to do your favorite sports teams colors, I want you to think of that. Just get outside of what you see a template as is merely a suggestion. Okay, so I'm going to give you that one. That way you have something to play with. And should I make it linear again? Yeah, I think linear works well for this one. And just change the angle up. You don't always have to do a straight up and down, so you don't always have to do a 90 degree or completely left or right is where you put in 0 degrees. I like to play with changing my angles up so it looks a little bit more organic, less mechanical. All right, so we have that color layer on there. I'm going to bring it up above all. Turn back on our chains here so you can kind of see what that looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and take it back down to the original way the image was. So we'll bring that down. And of course now I need to, I'm going to rasterize this layer, apply this layer mask, and rasterize this layer, apply this layer mask. So then that way you just have two different versions of the marble that you can add or take away. So I'm going to take it away when I bring in my sky, because I want the sky to kind of be really clear right there. But if I'm not using the sky, then maybe I bring the marble in. If I'm not using the chains, of course I want to bring the marble in. Or even if you don't use the chains, don't use the marble, it can fade off into white. Too many options. All right, so that's the fun of this stuff. So I'm going to turn it back to my black and white mode so that I can make my 13 by 19. Even that looks really cool. Okay, so we're getting ready to make this into our 13 by 19 design. Unless y'all, do y'all have any questions before I turn it into the 13 by 19? Highway 80 Kai, this is Photoshop, definitely. There is a way that I can make these for Affinity, and usually you'll have to message me and let me know that you want that one for Affinity. I will make it available. It's $5 more because I do have to go back into the template and do something extra to it to make it an Affinity template. But you can, any template that I do, you can request it to be done as an Affinity template. Thank you, Rona. I appreciate it, love. Okay, so let's get ready to turn this into a 13 by 19. First step is I already have a layer mask on here for you, and it's on the background layer. So I'm just gonna activate it. And you see I have one of those nice little grungy backgrounds. And someone asked if I'm gonna make the Grunge Backgrounds a file that you can purchase. And I think I will do that. I think it will be very beneficial to you all. And let me go ahead and clean some of these files up. Let's go ahead and merge those. And I like to rename all of my layers. Well, not all of them, but I like to have all of my layers labeled to where when you right click on them, you know exactly what you're clicking on. And that's that's pretty much the marble look. And I'm going to take it off of the top part. Now I am going to show you whenever I redo something for 13 by 19, it's not necessarily the exact same format because you want to make sure that it's going to look nice on that 13 by 19 design and everything fits in there properly. So we will be resizing the stairs more than likely to fit it into the 13 by 19. Okay, but before I do any of that, I just want to make sure that everything is going to be clean, labeled like it needs to be labeled. Yep, and I'm doing my best, y'all, to keep these templates as clean as possible and a lot less layers so that, yes, you do have some options, but you don't get completely overwhelmed when you see all the layers. All right, so I'm going to take the background off for just a moment. I'm going to disable that, that mask on the background there, and then I'm going to turn off these guides so that make sure everything looks good. Looks good. So we'll save it as is. Right now it is an all over. Oh, I think I did Control A instead of Control S. So let me do Control D to deselect. I just noticed that y'all aren't seeing my little shortcut keys and stuff because it's showing up on my other screen. So this whole time I thought it was showing you my shortcuts. So I'm doing Control S to save. I'm save it right now. Anytime you're working on this stuff, make sure you're saving. Oh, and I see here I need to fade off the edge over here just a little bit. All right, so we have photo there. I'm gonna grab my paintbrush. I'm on my layer mask, not onto my image. Oh, well, excuse me. All right, let's do, I have black selected. I'm on my layer mask here. And I'm just gonna fade that off a little bit. It's like airbrushing. You give it some stroke. Don't tap tap tap, but just kind of use a smooth motion, and it looks a lot more believable. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead once again, save that. And I'm gonna adjust the image just a little bit because I think because he's kind of leaning over a little bit, like he's leaning on the table on one side, it's making me feel like the image is off center, but it's really just because of the lean. So all I did was Control T to transform it. And then Control T again, transform it. Then I can stretch things out. I can rotate them. I can do whatever I need to do. All right, so that one's good to go. I'm gonna save. And now we're getting ready for the 13 by 19 part. So if you have purchased the all over version of this template, then there is going to be a layer called background. And what I want you to do is activate this layer mask by just simply clicking on it. Okay, so you're going to click on that layer mask. And then we're going to File, Save As. And then I'm going to save this. I'm going to change these file names because I like to save my all overs versus my 13 by 19s. And we're going to let it finish saving. Then I'm going to take my crop tool. Okay, you see at the top here we have an option to put a ratio. So I'm going to put 13 by 19, right? And then I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, Control minus to zoom out a little bit. Now this is giving me a 13 by 19 ratio, but not necessarily a 13 by 19 page. So I want you to be aware of that. And I'm just trying to make sure that my image, I don't know what's going on. Whoa, buddy. Where is my, I think I have another mouse or keyboard or something somewhere wireless, and something is pressing up against it. So let's try this again, 13 by 19. And you want to leave some white space around here. You never want to get right up on your art because more than likely you're going to need a little marginal area for your print. All right, and I'm going to say that's good. I'm going to make sure, see where up here at the top where it says delete crop pixels? I'm going to make sure that's off. Y'all see that? So make sure it's checked off, because otherwise when I hit enter, it's going to delete everything outside of this box. So I'm going to hit enter and you'll see that it's going to start to crop the image. And like I said, you can tell we're going to have to do something with those stairs because they're going to be hanging off the image there. But this is frequently when I make an all over design, I do have to modify it just a little bit to do a 13 by 19 version because I'm not always happy with how the layout goes, because now we have a longer, more slender design. So we know that we're doing this for the 13 by 19, so it's going to be okay to move things around. I'm going to take the stairs, Control T, because I want to transform those. I'm probably even going to squish them in a little bit. And pull them up. Let's see, I definitely want to be able to see them, but I also want to be able to see my marble down there at the bottom. So I'll take my mask, I'll do Control T there, and I'm going to bring the mask down just a little bit so I get a little more of that gold down there. And I still have room around my image. Those stairs are definitely dangerously close to that edge, so I'm going to Control T, do something about that. And I can still have my my stairs kind of hang off if I wanted to, but then it starts to interact with where my sky is. So I might have to change where my sky is. So that's my sky. I might have to pull it up, Control T. I might have to squish that bad boy just a little bit more. And then I still see my nice gold design at the top. And then I may also bring my my text down. So I'm going to click on the Always in Our Hearts and pull that down. And now you see it's a matching design, but it is not the same exact orientation. I don't like to just take something in one thing and then merge it all and just mush it and squish it into another orientation. It doesn't work like that sometimes. Sometimes like you're doing a pillow, and this design wouldn't work for a pillow because a pillow is mostly square. So you're going to have to you know, play around with the layout. Now you can squish it and stretch it. That's up to you. If you feel like you did it one time and you just want to be done with it, that's definitely up to you. But this makes a big difference when you do, you know, do your due diligence to play around with the layout. Okay, so now I'm happy with this as a 13 by 19. I think it takes up appropriate amount of space. It gives a good amount of detail. I think these stairs are still trying me just a little bit. I definitely don't want them that close to the edge. There we go. And this one is good for me. Erica, let me know how you feel. Oh, she says she loves it. Good. Good, good, good. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this now. Now, it is not a 13 by 19 yet. It is a 13 by 19 orientation. But let me show you something. I'm going to go ahead and save because frequently when we thought we got somewhere or we get happy with a design, that should be your cue to save. All right. So now what we want to do is go up to image and image size. And we'll notice that this is still 21 by 31. That's still huge. We want it to be 13 and automatically we put 13 as a width, it should take the height to about 19. That's great. Let's hit OK. And now this file is going to be much smaller than the all over file size. So in the future, now you have a 13 by 19 version of this same art, and you won't have to open up that big old all over design if they only want 13 by 19s. So I'm going to do Control-0 to zoom in, and it looks like I probably could shift all of this just a little bit. I'm going to delete. No, I'll keep those on because if you purchase the 13 by 19 version, then hopefully, well, those outlines won't help you because there's going to be different size now. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those so you won't be confused with the 13 by 19. And then of course you still have your long live on there. You have your photo group, so you'll be able to take those clouds in and out if you'd like. And then I'll still have the Nipsey images in there for y'all. But I hope this one was simple. I think we were able to achieve quite a lot in this little bit of time. But like I said, you should be able to take this template and do an image change out in 10 minutes. And that's why I call them 10-minute templates, because everything is pretty much thought of for you. And this will strengthen your basic skills in Photoshop, such as cutting out your images, fading off your photos, changing colors, adding text, and that's the easy part. The heavy lifting is already done. You should be able to come in and then you get more confident with the tools and then you start learning how to create from scratch. So that's one of the segues into learning how to design from scratch. All right, so see, it's 9:30 right now. I think I have time to do one more design session tonight. So I will pull that one up in a little bit. Give me like a 10-minute break and I'll be back at about 9:40 and we'll do another 10-minute template change out. Ken, it is not in the store yet. It will be either later tonight or tomorrow morning. And then that way this one will be part of the sale. I know a lot of people have been asking about that. All right, so I have saved. Did I save? I did not save. So once we change that image size, it is officially a 13 by 19 now, and this one is good to go. All right, do y'all have any more questions on this particular template? I think I need to shift it. That's what I was gonna do. Shift this over just a little bit because I feel like this mask needs to be shifted just a little bit because I have a little bit more space on one side than the other. And the mask itself is not an even cut mask. So optically, I want to make sure it looks to be even though it's impossible for it to be even because it's got these kind of naturally cut slate edges. And I just thought that was really fitting for the marble kind of look to use the slate mask. Now I'll go ahead and link those together. And that should be everything. Let's go ahead and save again. And we're done. All right, love. So give me, let's say, I don't know if y'all are going to be up still, but maybe 9:45. We'll reconvene with a different template and go ahead and do that layout tonight. That way I can get 2 of our 10-minute tea template tutorials. That's kind of a tongue twister. 2 of our 10-minute teas template tutorials. All right, I'm getting better with this speech thing. So we'll come back 9:45 and do our second one for the evening. And then tomorrow we'll have a lot more to do as well. Okay? All right, loves. I'll check y'all in a little bit. And until 10 minutes from now, bye.